Hi there, Glocal citizens. Welcome back to the podcast that inspires a borderless mindset around manifesting a new world. I am your host, Florence Adu, coming to you from a nice little new neighborhood. It's not so new, but it's definitely quickly changing and evolving in Accra. It's called Chado. And this is a beautiful building that I'm in, and my guest is going to tell us a lot more about how and the why and the what of the building. I met today's guest via another Glocal citizen, Rita Kuse, and we talked about how do we bring to life the Global Conference on Human Resources Africa. And so I offered to talk to some of the folks that were in attendance and as speakers, and this is the genesis of those conversations. And so we'll have a few conversations with different people who attended or who were participants in the conference. And I think this also dovetails really well with our future of work conversations in our Solutionscape salons. So let me get to her bio. She is a trailblazing expert in digital governance and fintech, whose contributions have significantly impacted Ghana's fintech landscape. Her innovative approaches have enabled seamless access to payment tools, promoted financial inclusion, and driven digital transformation in various sectors. She is co-founder of Impromptu Technologies Limited, a tech company specializing in the use of AI for the provision of financial solutions and digital transformation. As a certified information privacy manager with the International Association of Privacy Professionals, IAPP, she is also an ardent activist for public policy with extensive research experience at the intersection of technology and financial inclusion. She is passionate about leveraging digital tools and platforms to bridge social divides and promote financially inclusive, sustainable societies. Deborah Asmah, welcome to the podcast.
That was a long one.
Well, I wanted to make sure to get that all in because I think it speaks volumes to who you are and how you stand in this Ghana community. And so let's jump right in. Let's get started. Where are you from? Where are you local, and what is your craft?
I'm a Ghanaian. So that question to a Ghanaian always has a lot of nuances. Because I'm an Akan, I'd say I'm from Winneba, from where my mom is. So I'm a Fanti, and also a One. Let me put it that way. And I mean, now I'm based in Accra. I've been in Accra primarily all my life. And you mentioned residing in Chado now. So what's my craft? Well, as a co-founder of a tech company, I'll probably say that my craft is to build relevant solutions that makes impact. Because I'm also in the privacy space, then I have to work that in. So I build relevant solutions that make impact, considering the unique needs, privacy and demands and social inclusiveness of the people we serve. So yeah, I think that's how I would put it for what it is that we do. So when I talk about making impact is really relative to the community that you are in. So recently when we launched our education platform, the impact we were seeking to bring about is to democratize education and make it accessible to everyone wherever they are within the region and not just have the good content for those within the South. So impact varies across whatever solution that we are putting out there and what the objective is.
Tell us about that new education solution.
So, I mean, when COVID struck, I think we all had lessons that we picked from it. One of the major lessons we learned in Ghana was the fact that people couldn't have access to continuous education anymore. The infrastructure and provisions had not been put in place to support remote learning and studying. So fast forward to today, the Ministry of Education being a beneficiary of a project that was put in place by the Ministry of Communication, sponsored by the World Bank, decided to put together, it wouldn't be a content-based platform, but an educational platform for the Ghanaian students. So what this platform is supposed to do is not just to have relevant content that would serve the need of the Ghanaian student that is going to the portal, but also provide tutoring to that student. So integrated in the platform is our AI engine called Tutor Me. So what it does is when you come to the platform as a child, whether you are the brightest of the brightest or you're struggling with a concept or whatever it is, you go to the platform, you tell it the concept you're struggling with, it will break it down, it'll break down the concept for you. It will keep taking you through the concept till you understand. And the understanding is based on your ability to respond to the questions it asks you. It's not like a general platform. You go and ask, what is the square root of 4? And it gives you the answer. It first wants to test your ability to respond to that question yourself. And what it does is it learns from the students that is using it, because everyone's understanding process is different. So it will just go through the process and pick what clicked for you. So at the point where you say, oh yeah, now I get it, then it gets to learn from you and realize that this is how you study, and subsequently it will tutor you in that regard. What we realized is that for even people with access to education, sometimes you're not confident enough to raise their hands in the classroom because probably all their mates understand the concept, or the teacher is just frustrated going over the concept, time and time again. But when you're behind your machine or behind your phone, you can ask the system as many times as you want, and the system doesn't get frustrated, you don't get shy, and it's the outcome that you're looking for. Additionally, it has trial questions on the platform for WASI, BEC, etc., where the students can go and practice, and it would score and grade them. You can put your practice in exams mode or normal mode. So if you go to exams mode, it'd be set up as though you are in the examination room. It would time you, etc., and then it would grade you and identify the areas that you're lacking, and then you can use Tutor Me to beef yourself up. And it's a content-based platform, so we are looking for people to even translate some of the content into the local language, because you don't have to always serve the content in English. and it helps break down the concepts very well. So if it is even math, it can be taught in the local language and then recorded and put up there. So it's open for both the learners and the tutors with content, and it's lifelong education really. So you can just go on there and learn culinary skills, artwork, not just mathematics and science and all the others.
Mm-hmm. I love that, because that's the business that I'm in, obviously. And so when you were working on this, was there an age group that you were targeting, or you were looking for the entire K to SS?
So the idea of the platform is to serve from kindergarten to preschool to tertiary to lifelong learners. Okay. That's the idea. Now that the platform is up, we keep having to put on the relevant content to enable this. That's why we are very excited when people come and tell us that, look, we want to be able to do this, put our content there, and they can also put a fee on it. It doesn't have to be for free. And so whatever fee they put on, but we recommend that it's a reasonable enough fee, because we want people to have access. Our primary objective is the access. So yeah, to answer your question, it cuts across the various grades or age groupings and all that.
Mm-hmm. And this is available to the general public, or is it mostly facilitated through educational institutions?
It's available to the general public. So a parent who, these days when our kids come home and they ask us for assistance with their homework and we keep acting busy, half of the time is because we don't even know the assignments. And then you have the parents who are genuinely busy, and you're also always worried about how your children are doing their homework. So it's available to the general public. You just go to www.gksb.gov. And then you create an account for yourself, or a parent can create accounts for their child. And then, they just have access to it. Currently, it's free. Mm-hmm. There are no subscription fees presently.
That's wonderful. Thinking about the mechanics of putting together or coming to this project, tell us how Mpontu got involved with the various partners, and how you see the sustainability of this type of platform.
It was a competitive tender. So we participated in the bid, and we're really proud that we got selected to do it. So in terms of our involvement, that's how the process started. Sure. Now, to get the work done, you'd have stakeholders you'd have to engage with. So we did a lot of stakeholder engagement. The Ministry of Education, who are the beneficiaries, had to tell us what really they wanted. And then the Ministry of Communication and Digitalization, who were fronting this project, had to be involved to ensure that it met the objectives objectives for which they were fronting. And it's not something that's a standalone. The Ministry of Digitalization is already doing networking for the various regions, because once this is set up, you would also need internet to be able to engage with it. So that's how the connections were happening. So whilst the application was being built, the ministry had its own plan to network the various regions, make sure that the various schools also have access to internet. And it was part of their plan to provide, the ICT infrastructure set up in the various schools as well, and provide some laptops and computers for that. So that was the connecting dot. In terms of content provision, the Ministry of Education is also helping us with the content bit. And then there are other content that goes outside, the classroom, because you want to also have lifelong learners. I wouldn't say the portal presently have all the content that they would need, but it's a work in progress. But in terms of it being functional, it is functional now and it's usable.
So a lot of what you described sounds like what AI is now today. Now, you started during the pandemic, and we've come 3-4 years later.
Actually, this project started last year.
Oh,
so the tender came out last year and we completed the project, but it was launched this year.
Okay. So you are in the midst of this large language learning. Large language. LLMs.
Yeah. That makes it easy, doesn't
yes,
it?
exactly, the acronyms. But you're in the midst of these fast-changing technological environments in terms of training data and figuring out how to make that data available. And so you yourself are in the privacy space and understanding, how do we protect consumers and allow them to have the knowledge to be able to safely feel like they're using these things without being exploited in any way. So tell us a little about the dimensions and how you think about that in this particular application, and then thinking more broadly about other works that you're doing.
When you have to consider privacy and its other elements in your deployment, you have to consider privacy by design. You have to consider how the setup is done. You have to do your impact analysis. So what I mean is you need to be able to tell what happens if the application gets compromised. What kind of data are we keeping? How would it affect negatively the users of the platform and all that? We need to look at all that when we're putting it on. And especially the fact that it wasn't just targeted at adults. You're looking at children as well. And you're looking at the type of content they would have access to and how their rights can be abused through that. Would there be phishing attempts through that to lead them to other platforms that they are not supposed to have access to? So we needed to have all that into consideration. So in starting the process, one of the things that we ensured was in place is that before a content is even put out there, it had to be approved by the Ministry of Education. And so we are certain that these contents were safe enough for the kids that would have access to, not just the adults who now know what is right and know what you're going to choose. So that bit was there. From the information gathering point of view, we implemented a two-factor authentication. So if the child is the one creating the account, they would need to have an OTP sent to a number. If the child is at the age that they don't have a phone, then it becomes their parent that is signing up for them, and then the OTP would be sent to the parent. It means any other changes that is happening on the account, the parent was going to be notified about that. And it's a closed content page. It means that you cannot come to the platform and then use the platform to access other URLs and links. The accesses you would have would be purely accesses that have been curated based on the search that you're looking for. And so that's also there. And we are very conscious of the type of information we are collecting. So the information that we are collecting is such that if, God forbid, there is a breach of some sort, it isn't an information that exposes the private information of the child of the users. They are not sensitive information, to put it in that regard. So that's also something that we took into consideration. The access rights as well. We are able to track all the things that have happened. So in case something goes wrong, be able to tell at which point and what's the scope of damage is. And we've pseudonymized all the data as well that we have on the system. So even if something should happen, you wouldn't be able to put together all the information that can lead to some sort of a concern for the people that are using it.
But in terms of also leveraging that data for improvements, and I just want listeners to know this is the Ghana Knowledge and Skills Bank portal. We use the acronym, but that is the portal. The Ministry of Education, in the Tutor Me side of it, years and years ago, I started to work on an application that was about assessment. So really assessing where students were to help inform teachers. So in using this, is there a plan, or did the ministry think about how that data can then be used for assessment, for teaching tools, and really kind of helping parents to support their child as well?
Yeah, the ministry actually has a very long-term plan. Sure. And this just features an aspect of the plan. I mean, when you have a conversation with them, there is a bigger picture that most of us are not really open to, also because probably they've not exposed it to us. But there is a bigger picture of doing a proper assessment of the needs of every child, not just through the GKSB, but through their internal academic experiences as well in their various schools. So the GKSB only comes to complement it. And in regards, I think what they are looking at doing is, when I take a child from any school, I should be able to map out the child's education since they started schooling and have a fair idea of who that child is in the sense of their educational prowess, how they study, what makes them successful in their studies, what tools appeal to them the most, and then, kind of create a content for just that child. Their end game, I'm saying, is that if any child goes into their account with their user details, because the child has been profiled to enable the child learn better and appreciate concept better, the kind of information and how it's presented to the child will be different from when the next child goes into their account, because their profiling and their assessment seems to be different. Right. And then also because I think they intend to do a lot of practice question and exams questions for the child, not towards like promotion, but towards building the child's capacity. And so if they realize that, okay, you are in primary 5, but you're not able to do the math concept for primary 5, it would serve you with the primary 4 concept and see if you're able to do it, and serve with the primary 3 concept. Keep going back and see at which point your foundation gets weak. So if your foundation gets weak at primary 3, then they'll need to build up that foundation before taking you to primary 5 without necessarily repeating you, because the concepts are built on each other. Sure. So from engagements, this is the sense that I'm getting from where they want to get to. But they are just starting off with getting the accessibility, the facilities ready, making sure there's network provision, then connecting the schools, making sure this infrastructure is set up, and then they build on it. So, I mean, through this project, we got to realize that there's actually a bigger picture. Okay. That, they're, a bigger piece of the puzzle, and we were just playing a small role.
Sure, for now, because I think you also are building your capacity to continue to support this mission. So let's talk about Why the Where. So from this big project, there's a place where it started, all the work was done. So tell us, Why the Where? How did you come to be living, working, and playing where you currently are located?
Living, working, I really didn't have a choice in that. But I guess growing up, you do end up making a choice where you want to stay and where you want to work. This field is, I probably think it started from a coincidental point, and then later became a decision that I want to stay in it. Coincidence because, I didn't do technology in school. My first degree is in English and philosophy. My second degree is in law. My third degree, my master's is in computer science and communication. So I'm the privacy and communication. So I really didn't start out with the intention to do technology, but I married a technologist.
Okay.
So that's where the coincidence bit started.
Yeah.
And because he's a technologist, everything was around that.
Got it.
And, through courtship to when the relationship was established and married, we realized that in as much as he was big with the big concepts and, driving this change, and I want to do this and building and coding and doing that, I was good at communicating the concepts, and I'm translating the needs the customer had to what the expectation should be. So I sort of started off on the side, just being a bridge between himself and the people that he would engage with. And yeah, that's really how it started. So from that regard, we said, look, we have something going. Why don't we just, do something together? I mean, I was fresh out of school and I was doing my national service and had gone for, after national service, you're looking at establishing yourself in other companies and all that. So I had gone for my several interviews. I'd gotten some confirmations to start after national service. And it was like, you know what? Don't go working for anyone. We have something going. Let's do this and see. For me, it was a bit risky. Because at that time we were still dating. So like, why you want me to not work and come start this with you? How is this going to go? But yeah, we took the chance, and the rest, as to say, is history.
Okay. That's a great story. It's great when you can complement each other in that way and build something beyond just the family, right? Because you're building a legacy of works. I think you didn't start with Impontu.
No. So Impontu is actually a second company. We started off with another company where we had other partners as well. And the focus of that company was really to do value-added service provision. So we were serving some financial institutions with SMS notifications, USSD services, and all that. That was, Impontu is 8 now. So I think that was about 14 years ago. So that's how we started. I remember, you go to the office, and we were at a very small place. I'm the only one in the office because all the other partners were working elsewhere. So this is like my baby, fresh out of national service. You got to make this work. And I always remember how when it's time for like lunchtime and I'm going to get lunch, I need to lock up the whole place just so I'll go across the street and buy some fried yam and then come back. And it took off. It started showing good prospects. We won some good contracts, and we moved from that small place to a bigger place. I think it was about a six room apartment, and we had hired about, if I'm not mistaken, about 20 people. Oh, wow. 15 to 20 people. I don't remember correctly now. But, just as partnership goes, sometimes it works long term, sometimes it doesn't. So we needed to take a decision to move on. And so we did. It was hard, after you've put things in place for that long. It was hard, but we did move on, and we started Impontu. And we had to go back to the whole theater stage again. So we started Impontu around our dining table, and we were about 6. We were about 6 when we started, and the guys will come to the house and they'll find a place to work on the dining table. And, we were trying hard to make things happen, and we had built a reputation for ourselves in terms of our name, because we had engaged with the industry in the previous company. So some people were ready to give us a chance because of how they knew us and how we had established our work ethics with them and all that. But it was hard. It was really hard, having started past the theater stage, build a company, and then start all over again. It was a lot of hard work. And we are people of faith as well. So we put in the hard work and we trusted God to do the rest. We gradually removed from the dining table to another 6-bedroom apartment. And fast forward to 2024, we moved to our own office complex. I think it's about 5 floors now. Yeah, so 5 floors, staff strength of about 70. Have worked with, if not all, at least about 90% of all the big brands you can think of in one way or the other. And yeah, I think God has been good.
Yes, definitely. Tell us about the name Impontu. What does that mean?
It's growth and progress. It's an Akan word. So the accounts will say Impuntuo, the chi part will say Impuntuo, but because I'm fancy, we say Impuntu. So the name is actually Impuntu.
Okay.
But you bring the English into it, it becomes Impuntu.
Yes.
But the name is Impuntu,
Okay.
which means progress and growth. The idea behind that is, for us, we believe that technology has the power to bring about transformation in whatever facet of business you are in, whatever sector you are in, because technology is like sector agnostic. It doesn't really matter. So the point for us is, if we work with you, if we bring on board the relevant technology you need, then you would see the needed growth and progress in your business. Our association with you should bring about progress. Right. It should bring about growth. And beyond the clients we serve, our mission is really to bring about a transformation, not just in businesses, but in the growth in the mindset point. And that's also very important for us. So if you speak to any employee of the company, they'll tell you that we take our values seriously. We take our mantra of consistent service with speed, accuracy, and positive results seriously. It would come up in every conversation. We take grooming the people to think differently seriously. And it's not just talk, it is act. You have to be an Impuntu person, and your mindset has to be different. You need to believe that you can do it. So if you go to our operations room where all the staff sits, you would see elements on the wall that speaks to mindset transformation and change. So it is not just a business thing, it's a people thing as well. And yeah, that's the impact that we seek to bring.
Nice. So thinking about the fact that you've basically always been an entrepreneur your entire professional career, how did you, or where do you know, it's a bit difficult to always lead yourself. So where did you go to for the mentorship and the development that has enabled you to be an executive?
It's really hard. Sometimes you'd always have to deal with the imposter syndrome. And it's real. You have to know that it's something that comes up, that you have to deal with it. Recently, I was in a conference, and I had one of the lady speakers mention, and she's an entrepreneur herself, and she mentioned that sometimes as women, we forget that as the company grows, we grow along with it. And we tend to see ourselves how we entered and not see that, basically that's what she was saying in not so many ways, but not see that you are not the same person that started this. You have evolved. Right. And so first off, mentorship and all that is great. But first off, it starts with the self. For me personally, I found that the growth had to be intentional. It had to come from within. I didn't start off, and I know others do, but I didn't start off that way. I didn't start off by identifying somebody and say that I want to be like this, or I want to talk like that, I want to lead like this. I didn't start off that way. I started because I was really young, I had just finished school. So I started off just getting my feet wet and identifying those aspects of my temperament that wasn't helping me. So yes, I needed, that's the thing. I needed to build self-awareness, and that's how it started. I had to identify that, look, this isn't going to work if you want to be like this, if you stay this way. And I mean, I'm talking fluently now, and people will say you're very confident and you're this, but I'm an introvert. So everything that I do is in conflict with my very self. I'm very comfortable being alone, being in my room, watching movies and sleeping the day off. I'm good with that. That's like my forte. And so, I mean, that's also what kept me from being a naughty child, because I'm very lazy with going out and doing all that. But you become an entrepreneur, you need to step out. You need to talk to people. You need to sell your product. And then you have employees. You need to engage with your employees. You need to build their capacity. You need to motivate them. You can't do all that and be in your shell.
Yeah.
So I had to be aware of that. And then I'm also very, I won't say I'm short-tempered, but sure, what am I? I'm very
direct.
I'm very direct. I don't have time to sugarcoat this.
Sure.
I think it's also because I like to be with myself.
So you want to conserve, so make it fast so I can get back to me.
Let's do this and get going. And my husband always tells me I don't know how to play the politics of the world. And he's telling me I need to learn the game. So I realized people didn't like you to be direct, you know.
Particularly in our culture.
Yeah,
Yes.
they don't like you to be direct. So you were a woman leading an organization, you go in a room and you want to be direct, and half of the people you are with are men. And
There you go.
then you have issues. So I needed to learn to kind of temper it. I think I've done well. I think I've done well. I mean, you know, like, yeah, you learn. So self-awareness was played a bigger role in my growing as a leader. And then in doing that, you have to pick up the right skills. So a lot of the theories out there, they work, but practicalizing it sometimes is not always the case. So for example, I'm always having a fight with my husband when it comes to emotional intelligence. And, you know, I believe in emotional intelligence, but I'm always saying that we use that as an excuse to keep people lazy and not to build people's character. And because I need to give you feedback properly. And I can't always be worried about the fact that you're going to feel bad about it. And because when you give people access to break down all the time, you're going to break down. For me, that's my point. You need to let people know that it's okay, but I can't entertain you breaking down every time feedback is given, or I need to always watch the timing of the feedback. And you don't build character that way. And I started off by saying I'm a person of faith. And the Bible tells you that the God that loves you is the God that's chastised. He's going to give you the rod and give you the love. It goes hand in hand. You can have the love all the time and then put the rod aside. He doesn't become a father then, you know. So it's the same application for me. So yeah, I was just saying the theories out there, they're good, but you have to know how to apply it in the environment you're in and the people you're in and all that. So I needed to learn that for myself. I have taken some leadership courses as well. I have participated in the Stanford Seed program with other executives and leaders, because that you need to have like-minded people as well. And then you get to know that some of the issues you're facing is not unique to you. Everybody's facing them, and you can share some ideas. I've participated in a leadership program with CEO Accelerator, and he's also been very hands-on and worked with us on that. My husband is also a very good leader. So I've had the opportunity to learn from him. Sure. And he's a much more better person than I am. So yeah, he knows how to deal with people. He knows how to draw people in and encourage them and get them to work along with you and, you know, buy into the bigger picture. So I've watched him do this and I've learned from him. I think I've learned how to be a bit patient from him, you know, so that's also helped. And I'm still learning. So you can't stop learning and you can only be better. But I think for me, the key thing is to be aware. Every year, every day, every month, every week, every day, you need to take an assessment of yourself. And don't beat yourself down. I mean, I go through that process every day. I think I could have handled this conversation better. I think I could have spoken with this person better. I think looking at it, I could have given a better leadership and encouragement and build capacity better. And once you take stock of that, you ask yourself, okay, so how do you get it to play in the next interaction you do? And then you bring that to bear. If I falter there, I take note of the fact that I faltered there, but I'm not going to beat myself up. You just continue.
I like that. Taking a step back, because I felt like I wanted to ask this when we were talking about Ubuntu, but I'll ask it now, and it's about Glocal speak. So it's a word, a phrase, or a saying that is a meaningful part of your local experience, and why or how you come to value it as Glocal speak.
Glocal speak. I think seriously. Well, yeah, so it being a bit, I mean, that literally translates to you would experience it as you age. You know?
Okay.
I think for me, it's not everything you can explain. And certain things are just born out of experience. And there are times that you just don't get it. And you don't get it because you just haven't gotten to that place. I think you can, if you read the Bible, it's some of those things where you can read a scripture and you don't have like an aha moment.
Right.
And there'll be another time you read it and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I didn't know that. It's an experience.
Yes.
And so, yeah, it makes you nervous. And it applies in a lot of things, even in work.
Yes.
To be able to bring somebody along or to help someone with a challenge they are having. And bringing in this sense is not the age of it, it's the experience of it. Mm-hmm. Having a certain experience puts you in a position to understand someone's challenge a bit more. It also puts you in a position to understand your boss's challenge a bit more. Because sometimes you don't get why you're asking this question, but why did you have to think about it that way? Why did you see it that way? It is your boss's experience that leads them to ask those questions. Right. So sometimes when you grow into your work and you go into the environment and your experiences, now you tend to appreciate why they act the way they act, and then you have the normal life experiences as well.
Right. I mean, it says a lot of wisdom. It's about wisdom and patience.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I like that one. That's a good one. And so we spoke a lot about the work that you're actually doing, but I just want to kind of get your sense on this big data policy atmosphere that we're in and thinking about AI in Africa, because what I often experience is that when I'm trying to train my chats and my Claudes and all the things, I'm often telling them, no, I would like you to think of it as this, or don't give me answers that are X, Y, Z. I would like them to be, deeper. So when you think about how Africa is positioning itself and will be best able to utilize AI and build its own large language learning models and just really managing the data, where do you see that work being centered, and what is just the prospect?
I mean, Ubuntu has built its own large language model. It's called Snowly, and that's what we use. I mean, that's what we are integrating into our customer services and all that. That's what is in the GKSB. That's what is in the HRM we have out there. What we try to do is to train it on African-specific context as well. Not just do general training and all that. So if you go to Snowly and you're asking it some questions about how to start a business in Ghana, it's probably going to tell you about Goro Boys. It's going to tell you if you are looking for a place to rent, it would give you an idea of the places to go to and what you should expect, So it has a certain flavor to it that is not just general and out there. And that's the prospect for Africa, to be a voice or be part of the conversation. And that's what we are actively trying to do, not to just be consumers of the technology, but be part of the developers and the providers of the technology. And we have that voice, a voice that is uniquely ours. And Africa is not Ghana. Right. It is not a country. It's a continent of many countries with many diversity and interest and views and nuances. We have to be a part of the conversation. And so if you go into the area of policy and regulations and all that, you find that half of the time we borrow the regulations that have been set up. So Europe sets up an AI regulation and then it becomes the standard. And because we are not speaking with one voice, when we come to the table, we don't have leverage. So you are forced to take the standard that is out there, whether or not the standards work for you. Because these people that are bringing out the standards have had the benefit of experience and growth. And so now they can say, we don't want to do this, we want to do that, we are adding that. You haven't. It's like someone who's had their full of rice and then they can say that I don't want to eat kanzo anymore. And kanzo is the burnt part of the rice. Mm-hmm. Now I want to eat the soft part of the rice at the very top and all that. You can afford to say that because you have enjoyed the kanzo, moved to the middle part, and now you're at the face.
Right.
But for the other person who has just been given a pot with not much to choose from, the kanzo is a delicacy. That's the same thing for us. If you want to restrict the data collection point, and you want to make it very difficult to collect data, how are we supposed to train our chats? You know, how are we supposed to do that? And you want all data to be purely and strictly from a volunteering point of view. How are we going to get the relevant data that we need to determine that high blood pressure, as determined by the European standard, is not something that we are really struggling from in Africa, because we are naturally despondent to that level that has been set up as being high blood pressure.
Yeah.
I don't know if you get
I get it 100%. And
if we don't collect the data, how am I supposed to know that generally my people prefer, I don't know, they prefer to walk to the hospital than they have healthcare givers come to them in the house, because they think that being in that environment is more suitable for them, and they feel that somebody's actually paying attention to them and not just an individual, but it's like a community. And then I can chat with my other colleague who is also not feeling well, and we can fraternize, and that helps me. I don't want to be at home. I don't want you to bring me healthcare at home. I don't want you to do tele-healthcare for me. It's the nuances of the people that help with that, you know. So, I mean, I think that for me, it has to be a continental conversation. And as much as it's nationalistic, the impact is more continental. And it is from that regard that we have a bigger voice, and we can also determine how things play out. But if Ghana goes to the conversation alone,
then it's right. I mean, we could talk for hours about that solution, because I have so many ideas, but I like where you're going with that. And so that's a good point to ask you about your mindset hack. So how do you hack your mindset? What gets you in a different mode?
That's hard. You know, honestly, I don't know. I think for me, it's about what we are trying to achieve. So I look at it from the economic impact point of view, and I look at it from the people impact. You know, I take pride, and I'm so satisfied when someone comes into the company, and even if they leave knowing that in Puntu
that's the place.
You didn't want to stay there, but you know that everything you have picked up, you picked from here. To sit up and work, you picked from here. Knowing that you can't leave the work unattended, you picked from here. Knowing that you have to serve the customer, you picked from here. Knowing that see-through is something you start and you end, and it doesn't matter whether your boss didn't give you the response quickly, but you knew you had to. Yesterday, I was going home, and then I had one of my people said, oh, they are leaving. I said, oh, are you done? Yeah. You're supposed to close something before you leave. Are you done with that? And I said, yeah, I've sent it to you. I'm like, okay, did I give you feedback? No, but
then you're not finished.
You're not finished.
Right.
Because you are only done if you got the feedback. So after you sent it to me, what did you do to get the feedback? So do you know push and pull? He said, yes. So I pushed it to you. Did you pull the feedback? No. Well, you got to get the feedback.
Right. So about face.
You had to go back. And then he was just hanging at the door with his bag. And, you know, and I mean, I wasn't fastidious about it, but I was just smiling to myself. And I was saying, you got to get the feedback.
Yes.
And so for me, I think what you know, because the life of an entrepreneur is hard. There are days that you wake up and you're tired, and you ask yourself the questions, you know, and you just, you know, like, oh.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
But when you come in and you see the people that you're doing this with, and they picked up something that you thought, or a culture, and you see them live it, and you see a certain change in mindset, or you see someone say, so, okay, I'll give this to you soon. And you hear someone ask, what is soon? It's not on the clock, you know, like you're violating my SLAs. And when you hear that, for me, it spurs me on, because it makes me see, okay, change is happening. Yeah. And so if change is happening, you can still keep going. And that, I think that's what clicks
Okay, I like it. It's like a culture.
Yeah.
A culture of,
Yeah, that's what clicks for me.
Okay.
And that's what gets me going. When I see that even one person, is speaking differently, is acting differently, has asked the question I would have asked,
Okay. All right.
or it just says that, okay, say I'm calling someone on the page and that person hasn't seen it yet, and another person comes to say, I'm drawing that person's attention for you. Like, okay, you're paying attention, you're learning, you didn't think, okay, it's not me, so you're drawing the
It's
person's attention.
Yeah, I like that.
That's what makes I think that for me is what drives me.
Good. I like that. Okay, so we talked about what drives you in work. We talked about what's driving your thinking. Now let's find out who Deborah is when she's not working.
I'm sleeping.
Are you a reader?
I love my
watcher?
bed. I love music.
Okay.
A
listener.
I love all kinds of music, but I love storytelling in music. So I love country music because I feel like they tell the best stories.
Okay.
I am unfortunately not a great singer, but I have a choir.
Oh, okay.
So I write some songs. I love to direct.
Like musical direction.
Music. So I love to do, the whole arrangement of it and then have them do it. I enjoy that.
Is that part of the reason we're sitting in a studio?
Yeah.
Is that part of the reason why you...
That is the reason why we have the studio. That's the whole reason why we have the studio.
Yeah.
This year we are preparing for a program that we'll be doing in December called The Atmosphere of Worship. So the choir does just gospel music.
Okay, so it's a gospel choir.
It's just a gospel choir.
Is it attached to a church or anything?
It's not attached to a church.
I love it. So tell us the name. We can look up for albums. Okay, Jubilare.
Yeah, so it's just Jubilare choir. So it's just Jubilare, and Jubilare is I think it's Latin, if I'm not mistaken, for make a joyful noise.
Yeah.
So the whole reason for the name is, like I said, I'm not really a good singer. So I was always very envious of people who could sing so well because that's what I wanted to do. And I've always wanted to have like a music group for myself. But I thought because I couldn't sing well, I didn't have any right to put together a group. So I had my aha moment where it struck me that God said, make a joyful noise. He didn't say make a beautiful one. So for us, it's an honest lifting up of voices to God. It worked. And putting up a group didn't mean you have to be the singer in the group. Yeah. Putting it up alone meant something, and directing them and making them do this work. So then I got Jubilare, make a joyful noise unto the Lord. So yeah, we have some song on Spotify, and we're still babying, but we are getting there. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to our program on the 12th of December, and we'll premiere it. And it's open to music lovers who are Christians, because it's a Christian group. For you to join, you have to be a Christian. Oh, okay. But we minister to everybody. Got it. And those who play the instrument. I mean, we have all our instruments in the studio. So for those who don't sing and just love to play, they can just come. And yeah, I love that. That's, I think, me.
Okay.
It's my ministry, I guess.
Okay. All right. I like it. So we'll have links to that in the show notes so people can access the music, the events, all that good stuff. Yeah. This has been so wonderful. It's so lovely meeting and talking and chatting. So before we go, do you have any last thoughts that you'd want to share with our listeners?
I think my last thoughts would be, we need to be a bit more of an ambitious people. We need to take personal, letting our voices count in the global conversation. A global conversation isn't a conversation with just Europe and Asia and the Middle East and all that. That's not a global conversation. A global conversation is with all these other continents, including Africa. So we have to be interested. We need to be part of championing the cause as a collective and not as a national or an individual thing. So let's just be interested. that would be my last word. Take an interest.
I like that. And you provide platforms for building knowledge. So that's great.
Speak to me if you want to digitalize your operations. We'll find a way of making it work.
That too. So where you can find Deborah and Impromptu will be in the show notes and all the wonderful things. I'll also have links to the global conference on HR and just any follow-up with that. And so thank you, Glocal Citizens, for joining us. This has been another episode of the podcast. You can catch us Tuesdays with new episodes at glocalcitizenspod.com or wherever you get your podcast. Please like, share, subscribe, leave us a review. And until next time, bye for now.